I'm Oral Hershiser, and I am on Blue Review. Hey, this is Sean Green. You're watching the Blue Review.
Bum, bum,
Bum,
bum, bum, bum.
bum.
Ring. Hey, happy Monday, everybody. Happy Star Wars Day.
If
May
we
the
had
Fourth be with you.
lasers like in Star Wars, we would do them, but we don't
Yes,
have
we
them.
don't, we still haven't figured that out.
I
We
mean,
might.
are they still like half-hearted lasers? Because yeah, they got one, but it's been a little slow.
is there a way to do like half lasers, half not? I don't know.
Pew.
We'll figure it out by like
No
Labor
pew
Day or
pew.
something.
It's just
Who
a
knows?
pew.
Welcome to Blue Review presented by LAX. I'm Marcas Grant. That's Greg Bergman. We'll be joined by our pal Jeff Spiegel in just a little bit. But you sort of leaned into it already. Not the greatest weekend for the Dodgers, but they were able to salvage it with a win on Sunday. Still losing 2 of 3 in St. Louis. And now they're off to everybody's favorite locale with the Houston Astros for 30. So we'll talk about that and plenty more. But first, I want to let you know the Blue Review is powered by LAX. From practice to prime time, the all-electric LAX Skylink is being put through its paces in testing, getting ready to deliver reliable and traffic-free airport experience. For more information, visit lawa.org/ESPN. Let's bring in our pal, Jeff Spiegel, who we hadn't seen in a couple of weeks. It's good to have you back, Jeff. Would you like to comment on Star Wars Day? Are you an observer of May the 4th?
Find Star Wars entertaining. I remember none of the storylines, none of the characters, and I enjoy it, and yet I don't fully like. I don't know if I would say I don't understand the obsession. I don't share the obsession
Okay.
with Star Wars. I just it's an entertaining movie, much like a lot of the superhero movies, and I keep it moving.
Okay, that's fair. I will admit that I am one of those customers who I won't say I complain about all of the movies and stories, but I do recognize the declining quality of some of them. Yet, nonetheless, I still pony up to watch them.
They have been pretty bad recently, and to the point where I just don't need any more. I think I'm done with the
You're done?
universe. Just like Marvel. I'm the exact same way. I don't need any more. I had a good 10 years that ended in a nice storyline in Endgame. I'm good. I'm good with Star Wars. I don't need it.
And you guys are the smart ones. I'm the one who keeps coming back to the feed window and being disappointed by what happens. Anyway, speaking of disappointment, this weekend in St. Louis, obviously a disappointment for the Dodgers. They lose 2 of 3. Do salvage the finale on Sunday with a 4-1 win. But, Jeff, is it really just as simple as to say they're just not hitting? Is that really what it boils down to?
I mean, 8 double plays in 2 days is honestly really impressive. And we talked a little bit on our show last night on All Dodgers. It felt like it could have been more than 8. Like there was at least one where Ohtani with the runner on first grounded out to second, and they just didn't even bother trying to turn the double play. So they tried to make it more than 8, but here, you want some positive spin, Bergman? You ready for this? In order to hit into 8 double plays, that means there have to be guys on base 8 different times in addition to the runs they scored. So honestly, hitting, they had 14 base runners yesterday. They just couldn't, just smashed my camera real quick. They just couldn't convert any of those guys and kept hitting into double plays. So I'll take the optimistic view, Greg. The offense is fine. They just need to avoid the stupid ground balls with runners on first.
I'm disappointed. That was going to be my optimistic view. I was going to be the optimistic guy today, and I was going to be talking about how, look, they were getting guys on base.
Yeah.
They're just they're hammering the ball into the ground over and over again. If they can just lift it a little bit and find grass like Marcus always likes to say, they will start putting up numbers. It's going to happen. I love the fact that they're getting on base. They did walk a little bit. Like there's things that are happening. It's just early season. My big thing is always this. They're still in first place somehow because the entire NOS sucks at the exact same time. But when the Yankees won the World Series for the 3rd time in a row, they won 85 games in that year. Like it's hard to do that. They've been playing a lot of games. They went going to the World Series twice in a row. Your body is it's tough. Whereas everybody that doesn't go into the playoffs looks good at this time of year. They'll be fine. I'm actually in the optimistic zone today,
I love
Marcus.
that.
Oh, I love that. That's great. Yeah, I mean, obviously there were some positives there. I mean, I think there are some guys that are starting to kind of come around. One of the guys that seems to be swinging a pretty good bat is Haesung Kim. We were talking about him before the show started, and Greg, you seem to believe that when guys start coming back, guys being Mookie Betts and or Tommy Edman, that Kim looks like the odd man out to you.
So that's what all indications are, that he is going to be the one that's going to go down. They Doc said it at the very beginning. He said we're going to give Alex a very long runway, Alex Freeland, and I believe that they're going to do just that. For me, I don't see how you do it. He's usually the odd man out, Haesung, but the fact is he's getting on base. He's actually has as many walks as Alex Freeland does this season, and Alex Freeland is the guy that's supposed to walk all the time. So they basically have identical numbers, except that Haesung Kim is faster and does a little bit more and on the base pass, and has basically the same at bat quality. So I don't see how they do it. I just think that they're going to do it.
I mean, Jeff, where's the bright spot for Freeland? I mean, he plays a good defensive second base. Offensively, it's kind of a struggle. I mean, do you think there's a universe in which they change their mind and tell Freeland he's got to go back to Oklahoma for just a little more work?
I understand why. To be clear, none of us would send Haesung Kim down over Alex Freeland. But Greg is saying he thinks, based on what we've seen from the Dodgers, that because they did that at the beginning of the season, because Haesung Kim is the guy who comes out of games before Alex Freeland, even now, like yesterday, he's 2 for 2. He comes out of the game. Freeland's 0 for 3, stays in for an extra at bat. But I actually think that they will have changed their mind, so to speak, by now. Well, I'll say this. When the first player comes back, I would not be surprised if Santiago Espinal is DFA'd first. I think the question is what happens when Tommy Edman comes back, and then what happens when Kike Hernandez comes back? Because there's a world where both these guys might end up in AAA when everybody is healthy, if everyone is always healthy. But I like Alex Freeland. That's long been my position. I just think that Kim has improved in all of the areas that were question marks for me coming into the season, namely what Greg just said, is the walk rate and the strikeout rate. He is walking at a totally acceptable level, and he's striking out at an acceptable level. Those were the two biggest, like, glaring holes in Haesung Kim's offensive game for me. And so I would imagine that I actually think they've changed their mind. If I had to pick right now, one of these guys is getting sent down, I think they would have switched, and I think it will be Freeland instead of Haesung Kim.
Oh, and I think just watching Kim over the last week or so, I like his approach. He seems to have figured out what his bread and butter should be, which is look up the middle, look the other way. You know, he's not going to hit. We know he's not going to hit with power. Maybe every once in a while you can put one in a gap and just let that speed work. But he seems to have gotten out of the habit of trying to pull everything. And that is working. We've seen him dump a few little flares into left center, into center field. I like the way he's approaching his at-bats right now, which right now for Freeland, you can't really say the same thing. The approach seems to be, please don't strike out, please don't strike out, please don't strike out. Like that seems to be kind of the way he's coming to the plate right now. And that part, I think, is hard to think as he continues to not have success, then I think he just presses even more, which doesn't help anything. So,
and real quick on Freeland, like I still want to say that the jury has, like, we have not reached a final verdict on what Alex Freeland's career is going to be. And I say this as somebody who, like, was pushing back against everyone who was ready to bury Dalton Rushing after 160 plate appearances coming into this season. Freeland's at 180, and I understand that it feels like it's been a while, but he's 24. And I would just say, like, we can say two things at once, which is he has been a disappointment this year. He is worse than Haesung Kim. And yet at the same time, I don't think his career is over with. I don't think this is the finished product of Alex Freeland. So just throwing that out there.
All right.
No,
that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, who he's supposed to be is supposed to be a patient hitter who doesn't strike out a lot and walks and has a great glove. And he's shown some of that. It's just not showing the patience at the plate. He's not walking very much. He's striking out a lot.
Yeah.
And so with Haesung Kim, I think, like, when he gets on base, I'd actually like to see him more aggressive on the base pass. There was one of those double plays yesterday where he chose not to go, and he stopped himself and running to steal a base, and he stopped and went back, and then Alex Freeland promptly grounded into a double play. So it was all the things that you want to avoid was just something that he's not doing. I'd love to see, because he only has 5 stolen bases on the season. I don't think he has 6 attempts too. So the fact, like when he does get on base, I'd like to see him be a little bit more aggressive there.
I also think maybe putting him in motion potentially opens up some holes for Freeland along the infield somewhere too. Maybe it sort of goes hand in hand. I get why he doesn't necessarily run when Shohei's up, because Shohei can drive you in from first base. So Shohei can drive you in from the dugout.
To be able to drive you in from first base.
Nobody is
just kidding.
Nobody's hitting for power. We've gone 6 games without this team hitting a home run. I mean,
last Monday.
Yeah, it's been a power outage for sure. Now, granted, any given moment, the Dodgers could rise up and hit 4 or 5 in a game, but it's been a while since we've seen a long ball from this team, which is kind of an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
Since we are talking about guys battling for spots with the big club, I guess, Jeff, that brings us to the starting rotation, where the battle at the moment seems to be between 2 guys for 1 spot. It's Emmett Sheehan and Justin Wrobleski trying to figure out who sticks in the rotation once Blake Snell comes back. I was thinking about this last night, and I hate the feeling of sort of horse race handicapping this thing, but that's what we do here. So right now, it does feel like Wrobleski has sort of taken the lead. I mean, the Kentucky Derby was last week, right? So he's taken the lead around the quarter pole, and coming down the stretch with Blake Snell coming back, it seems like Wrobo's got the advantage.
And to be clear, we are reading the tea leaves and assuming, Marcus, that Roki Sasaki, whether we believe he should be the odd man out or not, that he's sticking, right? That's sort of the built-in assumption.
Yes.
I am with you. I would be most surprised that if Roki Sasaki were sent down. Again, like the last conversation, I think we would all agree that if it were up to us, Roki Sasaki would be the pitcher that would be sent down to Oklahoma City. He's the guy that I trust the least. And again, I will maybe zag a little bit and say that I think the Dodgers are going to have an incredibly difficult time sending Justin Wrobleski out of the rotation. And I actually believe that Emmett Sheehan getting sent down to AAA might be the move that the Dodgers go with. I don't think they would move Sheehan to the bullpen because I think they want to keep him built up as a starter, but we've just seen enough with the velocity kind of going up and down. It was down another 0.7 miles an hour from an already down season average. He was throwing like 91 mile an hour fastballs in the 3rd inning the other day, or the 4th inning, excuse me. So I just think there's enough there with Sheehan when it comes to the struggles and how dominant Wrobleski has been, whether we believe it to be sustainable or not, that I find it impossible to believe that they would move Wrobleski out of the rotation. So, Greg, my prediction, as much of a zag as it might be, is that I actually think Emmett Sheehan would get sent down to go work on some mechanical stuff.
I think that would be the right move, especially with the drop in velocity. I just don't see it, unfortunately, because of the same reasons that it was before. I think that especially this early in the season, they have plans and who they think are going to be the best guys moving forward over the entire season. And they think that Wrobleski is somebody that can move back and forth. He can move to the pen and into the starting rotation. I mean, he's done it for a while. The more and more I see Justin Wrobleski pitch, though, the more and more I wonder how they do move him, because he's given up 2 runs in 5 starts. He does pitch to contact. He doesn't strike a lot of guys out. He does, but he just finds a way to get out of innings, even though he gets the first 2 guys out the inning multiple times yesterday, gets 2 on. He has first and third multiple times, and he wiggles his way out of it. So those are the types of things that I really love to see from pitchers is finding ways to get out of when they're in a jam. And so I don't see how they do it. It just feels like what they will do. They want Roki here. They like Sheehan for what he's done. I think even Sheehan in AAA is the same thing as Roki in AAA. What are you really learning besides trying to get the velocity back up and a little bit more mechanical? Could be that. But I just don't see, like, Wrobleski's been good enough, and he reminds me of Tony Gonsolin from a couple of years ago, where he was just great, going 6-7 innings over and over again through the All-Star break, and then it all came crashing down. That's probably what Wrobleski would be here, even though I love the guy. Just that's this early season, just we've seen it many times before.
So then, Greg, in that scenario, who who gets the short straw there? Is it Kyle Hurt going back to OKC? Is it a guy like Jake Eater,
Jake
who
Eater. Yep.
Probably doesn't get much work except for the occasional mop up situation? I would think it's one of those guys, right?
Yeah. Jake Eater is absolutely the guy to go back down. I think that he came up for those reasons also, just as while you have space, he's always going to be the odd minute, and then you can move Wrobo back to the bullpen, which again, really hard to do that based off his performances. But Eater goes down, Wrobo goes to the pen, and they keep Sheehan and Sasaki, which, to Jeff's point, are the two worst options to keep in the rotation, but I just seems like that's what they will do.
Well, that being said, Jeff, your thoughts on Roki's start? Because he had the one bad inning. He gave up the 3 runs in 1 inning. Other than that, he seemed to sort of be on point. And, again, he hasn't dazzled us in any one start, but everything about all these starts seem to be, adding up to positive movement for him.
Yeah, I mean, we were joking in a group chat, like, do you feel better or worse about Roki Sasaki now than you did at the beginning of the season? That text was sent right after the 3-run home run that he gave up. And then he proceeded to go like 3 more scoreless innings after that. But I personally don't know how you can say you feel worse about Roki Sasaki, with the caveat of, I still do not feel anywhere near good about Roki Sasaki. I just don't know if people fully remember how terrible he was in spring training. And you could say, oh, it's spring training, who cares, blah, blah, blah. The guy was getting pulled out of games every single time. He had a whip of 3 and an ERA of 15. Like, nobody was expecting him to finish like 4 innings his first time around. I think we're all expecting 4 to 5 innings every time Roki goes out. We don't know how ugly they're going to be, how many hits he's going to allow, how many walks or strikeouts, any of that kind of stuff. But unquestionably, this last outing was his best one. Only 7 base runners allowed, 5 hits, 2 walks, gets to the 4 strikeouts, does give up the 3-run home run, which, by the way, is a concern. He gave up 3 solo home runs the start before, and everyone was like, well, at least they're solo. And I'm like, you don't get to control when these are going to be home runs and not. And this time, it was a 3-run job. So I don't think he's good, but he's definitely improved from where he was at the beginning. Because, again, I just pencil in, I think it's going to be 5 ugly innings every time Roki pitches. And that might be 4 earned. That might be 3 earned on a good day. But I still don't trust his stuff in the zone. And I think he's going to allow a lot of contact, and you just cross your fingers and hope for the best.
But isn't that better? Sorry, Marcus. Isn't that better if he's actually in the zone? Like, he's going to allow. That's basically what's happening with Wrobleski. He lives in the zone.
Yeah.
And he's getting the contact, but they're getting the outs behind him. What he was doing before was walking guys, and just couldn't find the plate at all. That's more encouraging to me always, that he's actually being aggressive, and then he has to just learn how to throw the fastball in better spaces for strikes.
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree, because I think when he was walking people, it was like, be in the zone, you can't give free passes. I think what the struggle for me is with Roki Sasaki, I haven't been given a ton of reason to believe that when he's in the zone, he's going to be able to beat guys. And I joked in that last one, like, if he gets behind 2-1, 3-1, he just is throwing fastballs and guys are sitting on it and mashing it. And so at a 3-1 count, I'm almost like, just walk the guy. Because if you pump a 96-mile-an-hour flat fastball at the top of the zone, it is going to get smashed. And that's the tricky part. He needs to be in the zone to be actually evaluated as a pitcher. And what I would say is, so far, when he is in the zone, we have learned that he doesn't have swing and miss stuff. So that's the tricky balance of, it tends to be out of the zone getting swing and miss, but walking a ton of guys, or in the zone, not a ton of swing and miss, tons of contact, hope for the best. That's the tricky part. And I don't know where you go from here with Roki Sasaki, other than hoping that the stuff improves and, he's able to find some command with the fastball, so it's not middle.
To your point, and earmuffs, Greg, the BABIP is 309 for Roki. So when they are putting it in play, they are usually doing damage against him.
Which is like the league average number, by the way. Like, Wrobleski is at like 200, which is a totally, whatever word you want to use there, unsustainable, lucky, however you want to phrase it. That's the difference between those two guys right now.
The thing I'm holding on to is Roki had that start against the Rangers back in mid-April where he walked 5 guys in 4 innings, not the burger joint. He has given up 5 walks combined in his 3 starts since then. So at least the first thing we have asked him to do, which is to throw strikes, he seems to be accomplishing. Now, to your point, Jeff, we got to figure out how he can get guys out in the zone. And, that is kind of an ongoing crisis. Crisis, that might be too strong. An ongoing situation.
I think it doesn't feel like a crisis because we've all just accepted that the fact that this is what it is. I mean, he has a 6 ERA on the season, and people are like, I feel better about this guy than I did a few weeks ago.
You do. Each start, you kind of feel a little bit better for different reasons. And the fact is that after the 3-run home run, he didn't really give up much. Look, maybe it's just because I want him to succeed, but also at the same time, he's 24 years old, and he is probably your 5th or 6th starter in this rotation. So no matter what, like a 6th starter in your rotation is probably not having a 2 ERA. Like they're going to be a little bit at the end of it. We can't have all number 1 starters, Jeff. I know we've been trying to.
We can hope for. I mean, with all due respect, I think my number 5 or 6 starter, I would like an ERA that isn't 6. Like I think you could hope for high 4s.
4? Like you'd be happy with a 4, right? Like
thrilled.
Yeah. Now it's starting to come down. So again, to your point about in spring training, he's not being pulled after the first inning and in the first inning and brought back into the second inning. So that's a positive too. It's just, look, he's still 24 years old. He still has a lot to learn, and it's still going to take a little bit of time. I don't know what he's going to eventually be. He seems like a prime candidate of at some point, he's got something in his shoulder. We're going to give him some time off. He's going on the 15-day IL, turns into a 60-day IL, and they just kind of figure out some other things because he's a candidate because there's no reason to send him down to AAA and have guys that are just not as good as major league hitters, just not swinging at or actually swinging at his pitches and giving him false hope.
Yeah, we'll see how this turns out, but I think we all sort of agreed he's the guy that's not moving in the rotation whenever Blake Snell comes back, at least in the next couple of weeks or so. Dodgers in Houston starting a 3-game set. Game 1 tonight. You can see that one at 5:10 from, what are they calling this? Dyken Park? Whatever. It's
good for you for even looking that up and pretending to care about what they call their park.
It's Minute Maid, right? It's Minute Maid. It's always Minute Maid.
Enron, whatever it is. It's that place.
Enron's better just because it belongs.
Yeah, I like that.
Hanging trash can field. Anyway, Yoshinobu Yamamoto getting the start against Stephen Okert. We're getting into the problem part of the rotation that apparently that Yamamoto, Ohtani, Glasnow part of the rotation can't get wins anymore. I don't understand it.
They've lost 2 or 3 starts back-to-back weeks.
Not because of them, just because the offense.
The offense can't do anything, but they've lost back-to-back 2 or 3 starts with those guys on the. Those are the ones where you go, okay, we're good for these 3, and it just hasn't happened.
Hasn't really happened. So we'll see what happens tonight. Jeff, anything of note at All Dodgers over there?
No, please check us out, All Dodgers. That's the new spot. If you missed the news, we had a great show. We're kind of finding our rhythm. Myself, Clint, and Kevin were on last night, and that was a great one. And I'm also doing some stuff on the side with a channel called Bleed Blue Live on YouTube. I did an interview with Steven Nelson last week, which was awesome because Steven Nelson is awesome. So please go ahead, subscribe, check those 2 out. I'd greatly appreciate it.
Very good. Yeah, be sure to check those 2 out for certain. That'll do it, though, for this edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to Carlo for helping us get up and on this morning. Stick around for the Sedano and Cap morning extravaganza coming up right after us. And we will be back tomorrow morning to recap whatever goes on down in Houston tonight. So for Jeff, for Greg, I am Marcus. It's been the Blue Review presented by LAX. Back with you tomorrow, 6:30, 6:55 here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. See you.
Yeah.